Now very quickly, I will want a confirmation on to the audibility and the visibility. Please let me know if both of those two things are in place. And if that's a heads up, we will begin with what we have. I know there's already been a delay of about 15 minutes. I'm so sorry. We were, of course, the delay has been because we were checking the connection and all things so that we have a seamless 120 minutes to ourselves. And once that is an uptick, only then do we begin. So now that it's been taken care of, I would like to begin. So we have Arnav and we have Elite. Good afternoon, guys. Hello. I'm so sorry for to keep you guys waiting. But then, as it is said, there I durust I, right? So it's never late than ever. And here I am. So let us begin. But before I do, I would need a heads up on the audibility and the visibility. So am I audible? And is the visibility also taken care of? Could you please give me a confirmation with that? And if that's a yes, we will begin with what is it that we have. Okay, all right. Now, pretty late to be asking that question, but yes, my name is Suyukti Seth. So I guess we've not spoken or we have not really interacted that way. So my name is Suyukti Seth. I am a critical reasoning and a VA, that's a verbal ability faculty here at Top Rankers. You will see me quite often coming onto YouTube and of course taking classes also if you are a classroom student already. If not, towards the end of today's YT, I will give you my Telegram handle. I will give that to you, and this is going to be wherein if there's any doubt ever, or if there's any rant that you want to do, or if there's any preparation challenge that you face and that you wish to talk to somebody, and if you feel that you can confide in me, and if you feel that I can do a good job there, please feel free to write to me, and it should be my privilege. I'd be very grateful to be able to steer you clear of the confusion or anything that's just gripping onto and causing anxiety, right? So we'll do that. Now that I have a heads up on both the audibility and the visibility, let us begin. Now, we have more number of questions today. So of course, we're going to have to press the pedal. We have 2 reading comprehensions to finish today. But because the reading comprehensions are 2 in number, which means the number of questions or maybe the grammar and the vocabulary questions can be, of course, sped up. So again, it's a motley of questions. So please expect grammar, vocabulary, para-jumbles, para-completions, and of course the reading comprehensions. All of these are classic ways in which we can identify what is our parameter, or we can gauge what our understanding and what exactly is our benchmark of English altogether. Now once you finish with today's YT, you can chill like a boss with no doing English in today's day, in the entire of the day today, because you would have done enough of practice. But does that mean you should not be practicing anymore? Not at all. You need to keep practicing, of course, more, but for today, you can get your will and mode on because you've done what is expected out of you for the day. Hold tight, sit until the end of the YT, because I would really want you guys to be super prompt in giving the answers. Now again, like we did in all of these days, we are not going to be judgmental of what an answer and why not. So you will simply write as to whatever you think the answer is. We'll discuss. And if there's any confusion or if there's any answer that you're not convinced with, please make sure that you write in the chat box, and we will take it up till the time you are not convinced and you're not satisfied as to why an answer and why not. And again, I think, Arnav, it's going to take us somewhere oddly between an hour and 45 minutes. I mean, it's of course supposed to be 2 hours, but I think with the speed that we've had and with the kind of average that we've maintained in the past 2 days, we tend to finish anywhere between an hour and a half. But since the number of questions have been bumped up today and that we have 2 reading comprehensions, the reading comprehensions of the lot are always the time-taking ones. So I'm expecting that we should be done in about an hour and 40 minutes, 45 minutes tops. If you get hungry in between, if you feel like having your snacks, just keep munchies at hand's length so that you can have that. Keep nibbling onto it, but do not leave the screen and go anywhere. I need you to stay put until the end of the class so that we can have an excellent 2 hours and that we can also talk shop. We can talk about what are the things that have been bothering you, how should the exam preparation be, and all things alike. And having said all of that, any advice on RCs? Now, Elite, I don't know what your name is. It feels very funny to call you Elite, but then okay. The best way to do the RC is by getting into some very heavy reading. So as an aspirant of IPMAT for that matter, you have to be somebody who has to have a very smooth hand at reading. So please make sure reading is something that you engage with on daily basis. And it does not have to be the kind of activity which will stop the day you're giving the examination. It will have to be the kind of activity which continues even after the examination, because the way reading evolves onto you and it begins to grow you as a person, it's unmatchable, and there's nothing that can probably, take us to that where reading can. Second, once you get a good hang on reading, please make sure that you solve. So with reading comprehension, there's no formula, there's no shortcut. The more you solve, the better you get. And for us to be able to do a good reading comprehension, the comprehension skill has to be on point. To comprehend basically means to understand. So our understanding power has to be perfect. And again, it all circles back to reading. So reading is going to be the foundational activity. It is going to be the very bedrock. If reading has been taken care of, a lot of things naturally, your vocabulary is taken care of. Your grammar is also taken care of. Why? Because when you keep reading sentences in a certain way, of course, the grammatically correct way, the sound rule sort of reinstates. And what is the sound rule? Whatever sounds good to the ear is good English. So that is also one way in which grammar can be advanced. And all of your parajumbles and everything can naturally find its way without much of practice, because reading is what you're doing and you know what an order of narration is supposed to be, how the ideas are put in symmetry, and how the grammatical composition of it are supposed to be. So it's like a one-man army. Reading is going to take care of so many things in English that we can't even begin to muster, the kind of advantages it is going to bring forward. But reading happens to be one of the most underestimated activity, which is why I am a very big support. I'm a super proponent of reading, and that is what you should be doing. Is there any way to get the slides? Yes, towards the end of the session, I will have all of this. So we are on Rapid Revision 3 today. So I will have Rapid Revision 1, 2 and 3, all of these uploaded along with the YT, so that you have the slides to yourself also, and that you can download and of course practice it as and when you require. Ma'am, there are always few vocab synonyms which are totally out of the box and you have no idea. Would you recommend any trick by which you can guess? Right. Vocabulary is always a gamble. There is no set syllabus for vocabulary. And I'm saying this out loud because if anybody goes to say that these are what are a list of 1,000 short words and this is what you need to know and this is where all the words are going to come in the exam from, no, it's a scam. Never ever fall for that. There is no, like I said, there is no prescribed syllabus for vocabulary. Any word can be asked from anywhere. So how do we approach vocabulary altogether? So with vocabulary, we've come to an understanding that the words that are mostly asked in the examination are the high frequency words. What are high frequency words? Words that are very frequently used, but of course they're a little high in their prototype. So they're not those normal words that we use in lingo. They are going to be slightly fashionable. They're going to be slightly uptight words, but they are going to be the kind of words that we tend to use. So they're not going to ask you words which are going to be arcane, which are going to be from, another world altogether. That's not what it is. They will ask you words that we do come across, but it's just that we don't tend to be paying a lot of attention to. So the best way to come around words is by keeping yourself busy with popular, common, pedestrian sources. So by saying pedestrian sources, I mean to say sources which normally people are going to read, right? So read the novels which are the most acclaimed. Read the editorial. It is always beneficial to be reading the editorial. Read articles or read about topics which are raging, because there is where we will be using the words, and those are the words which are really going to be making, some noise. And with every time you do a word, just get into the habit of picking one synonym and one antonym of it. I know there will always be these couple of words that you might not know of. Yes, it happens with me also. If that makes you feel any comfortable, I'm an English faculty. I'm expected to know all the words, but I don't have an AI fit in my head. I can't possibly be learning all the words. So how do I come across the words? I don't get demotivated when I see a new word. And nobody scores a 45 on 45. I mean, you don't get all the questions right anytime. Even in the IPMAT, there will always be some questions that you don't know of, and that's expected. The idea is to not know everything. That's not what we want. We want to know a lot of it, but if you're leaving one or two, it is okay. So there will be words that you don't know of, which is fine. But alongside your preparation, You should not in any way take for granted a word that is coming and let it slide. So if you come across a word, have a notepad ready, or onto your phone have maybe a notes section ready wherein you're just jotting down every word, and make sure that you pick up 10 words from that word bank of yours and keep using it. I do that. So I read the newspaper in the morning and then I pick up some 10 odd words and then I try to use it in the entire day, purposely, consciously, because that's how they're going to instill. I can't sit and mug up, nor can you. So if you think that you're going to just start with the mugging up and everything's going to be all right, no, you wouldn't remember that word even on the second day. So what we have to do is we have to be more pally with the words. We have to be more compatible with the words. We can't get into the conventional habit of mugging up. So getting back to no trick, there's no magic wand that makes us know all of the words. We should simply be open to be knowing as many as you can. The words that you don't know, it's all right. Now, there are a couple of tricks that might work, but for that, again, our word band has to be, our bandwidth of words, of course, has to be a little larger. Say, for example, I don't know what the word is likely to mean, but I know three of the options what they are likely to mean. So maybe I can go for a wild guess and I can feel that, okay, if these three words are not close to the meaning, then the one that remains will have to be the meaning. So those are, of course, ways in which you may, but you do come to a crossroad. There's always a dead end. There's always a gridlock with the words, because words, when thrown upon us independently, in no way can we identify what the contextual aspect of it is going to be, and we would just never know. Etymology is one good way. So there's a very fantastic book that we have which is called Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. So if you go ahead and maybe practice that, that will help in personality development altogether. Right? You'll of course know the words, and under the swing of the words, you will also have a very enhanced, a very enriched personality, because that is also an aspect that the book caters to. So that's a good buy in case you're looking for. Other than that, read extensively, jot down the words, and let that be your single mantra. That is what should be your motto for approaching vocabulary altogether. Ma'am, I'm also enrolled in the link badge, the IMK, sorry, an IMB badge, or should I watch live sessions on YouTube or the portal? Do both enough. Why would you want to skip one for the other? I mean, what we do here on YouTube are extra sessions. If you dedicate 2 hours daily to English, what's the harm in it? It's of course good stuff. So do that, and then of course do your sessions on the portal as well. If you think there's too much of English that has happened today, then maybe of course, you can try skipping the recorded lecture today and then viewing it tomorrow. They recorded, that's the beauty of it. You can access it anywhere, anytime. Even if sometime some night you're feeling nocturnal, you don't feel sleepy, maybe have the video on. But don't miss the YTs, because in the YTs what we have are cluster questions. The classes go in a very syllabisic manner, right? So there's a regimen that we follow. You will not have such variety. And here, of course, when you have different people pop in the answer, there's a sense of challenge that comes up. And I think that really gears us up. So, of course, I'm promoting the fact that you have to stay here because I'm taking the YT. But having said that, it's not an everyday affair. Since it's not an everyday affair, it is okay for you to attend here. And since the lectures are going to be recorded, you can always have that viewed anytime. Okay, I think with that, let us begin with what we have. We have a good participant strength today. And let us begin. Now, for all the people who are coming in for the very first time, our trick is simple. We have the question that has been displayed. I will simply step aside. Once you have read the question and you're ready with the answer, you are to write the answer in the chat box. Once I have about 5-6 prompts of the answer, we will begin with the discussion. A slight bit of patience will come in handy because I know you might be a fast reader, but we will still want to wait for the others to finish. We'll go with each question. It's only during the reading comprehensions that I will stay aside for a while. You will finish solving the questions as well, and there is where I will come back for discussion. But since you're not starting with the reading comprehensions today, let's get the ball rolling with the first set of questions. Everybody, hands on chat box, all the very best. Let's put our best foot forward and begin with what we have and make this a superb and a completely interactive YD session today. The very first question, everybody, let's begin. Please go. Okay, we have the answer coming in. Let's see. Now, the first question over here from question number 1 to 3, it says fill in the blanks of the sentence using one of the words. The idioms and phrases have been provided in the four alternatives. Now, I had already published a novel and it was an unexpected success. I thought of the lot, we want to have something that is going to synchronize with the idea of success. So, of course, the answer will be D, which is my fortune was made. So my fortune was made as an idiomatic expression wherein you've reaped so much of success, so much of prosperity that you're set for a couple of years. My days were up. Now, when you say were up, it means that's the end. Chances were good. Now, chance, it's not about a chance. It's about a sure shot fact that the success that has already happened. So we don't want to have anything on chances. The lady luck was happy. Now, the lady luck, when it is happy, is going to offer you prosperity. But here the prosperity has already happened. So, of course, this is not what is going to be. The correct answer will be option D. Very well done. That's an amazing start. Let's get on to the next question. Okay. All right. Let's see. The neighbor grabbed the boy, rolled him on the ground to dash the flames. So clearly the boy was in flames, right? So he grabbed the boy and he rolled it on the ground. So what did he want to do? Of course, he wanted to dissipate. He wanted to diffuse the flames. Now we'll see which of the following. Smother the flames. Okay, that does make sense because when I say smothering, it means, when you're rubbing something to be able to dissipate. Let's reserve it. Kill the flame. You can't kill the flame. That's not possible. Burnout means when you've gotten completely exhausted. That is what the phrasal word burnout means. This can't be an answer. Now, fizz out. While fizz out also means something that is gradually going to decrease, it's generally used in a disappointing manner. That's when, when you open the cold drink bottle, it just fizzes out. And then eventually it becomes flat. So whenever we tend to be using the phrase that is fizz out, we have the kind of idea which is going to, of course, gradually decrease to a level wherein the excitement will completely come down. While fizz out might be correct in practice, but it's not going to fit in contextually because you will not fizz out the flames. You can't do that. It's used for aeration mostly. And which is why the effervescence feelings, which is our excitement and things like that, can be fizzled out. Or those are what can be fizzed out. But it cannot be for the flames, of course. So while smother looks a little too mean as a word, but that is what the correct answer will be. I hope everybody understood why we have A, because a lot of you guys had D. It's just that it's not the contextual fit that we want over here. On to the next one, please. Okay, let's see. Now, I only have one answer as of now. I think we'll wait for more answers. Okay, we do have. Some of the greatest inventions dash an idea of startling simplicity. So some of the greatest inventions, they actually, it's very funny that they have the most simplistic of the starts. And that is what becomes very astonishing, very surprising. So that's what it talks about, startling simplicity. So we'll have to see which of the following is it going to be. Now, stumble upon. When you stumble upon, it's more of an obstruction. It's more of a adanga. Is that how it is? That's not what the idea is. Hinge upon, hinges to just be able to, holding on to the last straw, jaise bolte hai idiomatic expression. So when you're hinging upon something, which means sometimes one doesn't know, but that is what, initiates it. Which is why we say hinges when two things or two metal clasps are joined together. It's sort of, it's lodged together with a hinge. So yes, hinge upon can definitely be. Starts without is negative and lacks is negative. The kind of idea that we want is that's the start of it, or that is what it completely hooks itself onto. So the only positive angle that we have to the word over here is going to be option B. Very good. We did have people with B, and with that, let's move on to the next. Now, starting question 4. Each question is a logical sequence of statements with a missing link. We have to, the location which is shown parenthetically, from the 4 options available, you are required to choose the one that best fits. So, aka para completion. Make the mandatory pairs, read the idea, make sure it has to be the kind of idea which has a little bit of this statement and a little bit of this statement. That's how we make a perfect statement to ourselves. Read it and please ping in your answer. Ping in your answers whenever you're ready. Okay, let's see what do we have over here. So we have C, B, A, C. Okay, let's see what do we have. Now, people arguing for a position have been known to cast the opposite in an unnecessarily feeble light. So all of the people, who tend to be arguing for a position have been known to cast. So there has been this standard, there's been a standard practice wherein whenever they want to speak about and they know that, they want to win the argument. So what are they going to do? For the opposition, they're going to cast the opposite in an unnecessarily feeble light. So they're going to make them look very weak. They're going to make them look very dejected. They're going to make them look very insubstantial. That's how they tend to win over their opponents. Dash. Okay. People who indulge in this fallacy. So this fallacy, of course, means that there will have to be now a title. Right? So when you use a pronoun, there will have to be a noun. So that this fallacy means the previous idea must talk about the method, the modus operandi, or what exactly do they do. Right? So we need to have like a terminology over here, because it says people who indulge in this fallacy may be fearful or ignorant of a strong counter argument, and it has to be the kind wherein they have to know that, if they feel that this is their way to do things, then they have to know that sometimes a strong rebuttal can also come. So let's see, whatever it is going to be is, we need a line that is going to talk about the fact that this is the kind of modus operandi that they have, and maybe a title to what they actually do. Let's see. Casting the opposite as weaker than it really is a very effective. Now, it's not an effective strategy because here we've criticized the strategy. So A can't be an answer at all, because the following line will not come true then. This portrayal of a refutation of a weaker than it really is a sure way of proving your point. Now, it's not a sure way. They do this. So to be able to put an explicit word and put a guarantee that it is a sure way of putting no. Everything was going well in this statement until we have a sure. And then when you say this and then you again say this, so two thises don't make sense. So that can also be a red flag for you to know this is not an option. Casting the opposite as weaker than it really is not a very effective strategy. Works very well because the moment you say casting the opposite, that is what we can use as the term. Now people who indulge in this being casting the opposite as weaker. So in this tendency, and of course we want to then begin to talk about the fact that this is not a very helpful strategy, right? So of course I want to start building it previously in the narration itself. So I've made a sort of a mahal that it's not a very good way to be able to, go forward, because you you have to have that possibility that ऐसा हो भी तो सकता है कि एक strong rebuttal आ जाए. So makes for an idea. Let's reserve C. This portrayal of refutation is weaker than it really is unwarranted. Now, we're not going on a moral high road here saying it is unwarranted or whatever. Of course, that is what the entire paragraph seems to be. Again, two thises will not help us because we want something that is going to qualify what this is. So the only option that we have, which is going to be a correct answer, is going to be option C. There's only one. So only Arnav managed to have a right answer while the other ones had other options. But I hope you understood why we have C. Let's get on to the next. A parajumble, guys. Please start. Okay, I think we first need to be solving and then we'll talk about whatever else it is. Let's focus on the, the questions. How I look will not help you qualify the IIM exam. So unfortunately, that's not going to work for us. The questions, please. Okay, so we have A and then we have C coming in as the answer as well. Okay, let's see what do we have. I'll begin with A and C and then eventually understand what the answers are going to be. Now we will be reading all of the statements, of course, to be able to know. Now, she decided to go to school and meet the principal. Okay. Suddenly she realized that she had no money with her. Therefore, she decided to go to the office of Ravi's father and get the money. Sudha wanted her son Ravi to get an admission in a convent school. Okay, so of course, clearly the statements will have to begin with Sudha because Sudha seems to be the main character. She's the protagonist, and this is what the pronouns are being used for. So our statements will have to be beginning with D. Now, over here, all of the statements that we have are pretty narrative. I mean, they're pretty episodic. That is one leading to the other. So if we just understand a chronological pattern, we'll be able to make our sequence. So she wanted her son to get admission in a convent school. So now that we've entered the idea of the school, what are we going to do? The next will have to be what happened in the school. So of course, she has to decide to go to the school and meet so she decided she's going to go to the school and of course meet the principal. Just when she made the decision and she was going, suddenly she realized that she had no money with her. She's like, okay, I'm going to go to the school. Girls, you see, suddenly she realized, oh, I've got no money. What do I do? So therefore, she decided to go to the office of Ravi's father and of course get the money. So between the two, the correct answer will be option A and not C. Okay, let's get on to the next one, everybody. Please start. Question number 6. Harshit, I will figure out your query and I'll get back to you towards the end of the YT. Guys, the next one, please. we have the answer already. I think this was quite an easy one. Now, of course, of all the statements, we have C and then we have A. So let's just figure out what we want to begin with, because in that way, at least we'll have an answer or we'll have one option eliminated. Now let's see C. I'll read the sequence with C. The whole scheme was destined to fail from the beginning. The past always comes first. Looks like a proper opener as well. It was impossible to steer such a large project or to success without planning. He started realizing this only towards the end, that is, there has been no planning. But then it was too late. So, of course, the but over here is going to be a contradiction of the idea. So, very well, the correct answer will be option A. I think we had an undisputed A as the answer. Very well then. The next one, please get on to it. Okay, so we have B coming in. Let me just begin with reading B. Now, there are no shortcuts to bringing your child to do his best. Okay, bringing out the best. Now, this is best and best. So of course, they will have to make a mandatory pair, which means D and B have to be together. So anywhere where D and B are not, they will not be an answer for me. So in the child is a gradual process of support and encouragement on your part. Now, your part हो गया तो भी देखते हैं ये your कौन है यहाँ पे. So the next, however, in spite of parental efforts, of course, parental effort is what the your is continuing, and then it has a however, makes sense, are found to fall short of their potentiality, and then parents give natural ability of children as an explanation for this. This being the fact that it is falling short. So very good job there. The correct answer is going to be option B. On to the next one. Now from 8 to 10, in the following question, sentences are given with blanks to be filled with the appropriate word. 4 alternatives are suggested for each question. Choose the best alternative. Of the lot, we have to see the correct phrasal verb. Let's get on to it. नहीं, option गलत तो नहीं है, because obviously, yeah, I mean, they were of course easy. But the one that we've chosen is what is going to be the correct answer, because you make the mandatory pairs and that's how you will have the options. Okay, now guys, always remember in parajumbles you might have more combinations, right? But ultimately choose तो वही करना है ना जो 4 options में से दिया गया है. So just surrender to what the options are and don't fight the options too much. Otherwise, you'll waste your time, and we know clearly that we only have some seconds to be able to solve a question. So time needs to be of, the utmost repute, and don't get into anything that's going to fluster your mind otherwise. So that is what it is. Tashyung. Did I get your name right? Okay, let's see what do we have. The scheme dash for want of sufficient support from all the members at the meeting, which means the scheme could not happen. I mean, there was no fruition that could happen to the scheme. Clearly, why? Because there was not sufficient support from the people. So fell through, fell out, fell off, fell behind. The correct answer over here is going to be the scheme fell through. So fell through basically means something that is going to fail. Fell out or fall out is when you have a disagreement or you're not in talking terms at all. Fell off simply means either you drop something from height or again something that has been lost in the course of action. Fell behind means somebody is not able to cope up. Somebody is not able to maintain the speed. That's not what it is. So there's only one answer that we have, which is going to be option A. Next, again, a phrasal verb. Please start. Okay. All right. Let's see, what do we have? Let's get on to the questions. The air hostess dash the toffees to all the passengers aboard the aircraft. So clearly यहाँ पे क्या है? Air hostess ने दी. Now passed over can't be, because passed over is देना. Now the air hostess will not give it to one and ask to pass over. So this can't be. Passed out basically means when you fainted, when you're unconscious. That's again not. Now gave round the toffees. Now passed round. I think what should have been is, it should have been gave around and passed around. So guys, we'll just make that amend over there. Now maybe you'd want to check in with what your answer is between C and D. Now again, try and understand, what do you think the answer is going to be? Do you think the air hostess passed around the toffees? Is she going to pass around, or is she going to give around? So yeah, pass out bolte hai na. So pass out can be anything. Basically, not being insensible in your behavior is pass out. So however you want to. So what do you think the answer is, guys? Clearly the answer choice will have to be between C and D only. Yes, the answer is going to be C, because of course she is going to give around the toffees. The next one, let's go. Okay, all right. Let's see. What do we have? Passed out hoga 100%. Okay, why do you say passed out? Passed out is going to be taken in the phrasal sense over here. If you remember the instructions are around idioms and phrases. So of course we can't have passed out, because passed out when used in the phrasal terminology means something else altogether. You're taking two words separately, but that's not what it is. Anyways, let's get to the 10th. The party was more interested in dash and announced a sharp reduction in the price of rice. So of course the party, right? And then there's reduction of price. And then they were more interested in dash. So what did they want to do? They wanted to gain some momentum. They wanted to do something which is going to please the audience and ultimately get their vote banks heavy. That's the kind of idea that we want. Now, cheap gimmicks are going to be tricks, but that's not what it is. Playing to the gallery means appeasing the audience. And that is clearly what they were doing. So yes, politics of opportunism makes no sense over here. Short-term gains. Now, the party was interested in short-term gains and announced. No, we want to know that it's announced because it looks like it wants to get some vote bank here. So very good job. The answer is going to be option B. Very well. Let's get on to the next, please. The 11th one. Okay, now the next one. The two brothers have dashed with each other. So, of course, the two brothers have now fallen is not going to be. So, fall in basically is when you fall in love. So, that is, when you come together. That's not what it is. Fall out, the two brothers. Okay, grammar we'll check here because, of course, this should have been fallen out. So, the two brothers have fallen out with each other. Yes, that is, there's been a disagreement. Fall back is when you go back to a plan, and fall off is not what we require over here. So, yes, it is going to be a fallout altogether. Yeah, I know ये easy है. Okay, now just one thing. It could be that ये बहुत ज़्यादा easy लग रहे हैं questions. But what you have to know is if you've ever seen IMB paper, it's not very tough. It is actually easy. And you know where they play? They play on overconfidence. जब बहुत ज़्यादा easy हो जाता है तो हमको लगता है okay, this looks very doable. Let's just go ahead and start marking it in speed. So whenever you get an attempt to be able to do maybe a difficult one or an English one, all of these are testing a stimulus of yours. And this is what we have to cater to. So if this is easy, why don't you begin to mark yourself and do it faster, right? Earn your brownie points and get learning value from every aspect, irrespective of how the content be. They're easy because easy में ही तो गड़बड़ करते हैं हम लोग, tough में तो दिमाग लगाते हैं. Easy may we take it for a smooth ride, and that's where you make blunders. So just make sure that you are putting in the time, and maybe time can be your friend here. Let's do it faster. Let's go to the next one. Okay, now over here the correct preposition. Now he has a reputation. Of course, this will have to be for honesty. Off cannot be because OFF is symbolically taken when something is just gone off. To honesty is not going to be. To is always used to point something. Out honesty is of course irrelevant altogether. So the correct answer will be option B. Next, the rider fell dash the horse. uh this one has a, it depends. Yes, reputation can maybe taken off, but it will depend on the sentence construction. Then Agni, you'll have to give me a sentence so that I can verify that for you. Okay, of course over here the rider fell off the horse. Like I said, off is always used. हम symbolically उस चीज को बताना चाहते हैं वो खत्म हो गया या it is no more there. So of course you always fall off the horse, which means लुढ़क के नीचे गिर गए. Okay, the rider of course should have tied the saddle around. Let's get to the next. From 14 to 16, choose the correct meaning of the phrase given. So we have to find which of the following is going to be the right meaning. Please get on to it. Okay, let's see what does this idiom mean. Now to put a spoke in one's wheel. So one's wheel, उसमें आप spoke डाल रहे हो मतलब कोई ना कोई type का अड़ंगा डाल रहे हो. So whatever has to be our answer, it has to be around obstruction. Let's go to interfere with. Okay, but what are you interfering with? So that's a little loose in terms of the meaning. To hinder one's progress, of course, hinder is you're trying to be adding some or the other kind of obstacle. Of course, between A and B, B makes a better option. To prejudice, prejudice is when you have a biased feeling for someone. That's not what it's going to be. To have revenge, again, not, which means yes, the correct answer is going to be option B. Let's get on to the next one. To be hand in gloves with. I think this was something that I used yesterday also, if you remember, while the discussion was happening. So let's see what do we have over here. Okay. Now, to be hands in glove with, so there is one glove wherein you have, hands in glove with is everybody is just going to be a party. So when you're in party, you're in very close quarters, you're in very close association. So that's the kind of idea that we want. Now, when we say hands in glove with, it can be used for both positive and negative situations. So not to be in a miserable condition, no to be in a fixes when you're in a difficult situation, no to be on very intimate terms. Intimate is very close. Yes, that's the kind of idea. To be in financial difficulty, no again, which means the correct answer is going to be option C. Okay, throw cold water on. Yes, that's right, Tashyung, and that's exactly what we discussed as well. To throw cold water on. So basically, to throw cold water on means you've dampened somebody's effort, right? So to conquer rapidly, no, to refuse to listen, no, to get an argument to an end, no, it is to discourage. Yes. So you've thrown cold water is जितना भी excitement था, जितना भी momentum था situation में आपने उसको ठंडा कर दिया. So you have discouraged. Now discourage can be taken in any form or format. So the correct answer is going to be option D over here. Let's get on to the next. Now, starting with the next, we have reading comprehensions. So the rule will be simple. You will read, you will write a scroll in the chat box. Once I have a scroll from 2-3 people, we will move on to the next. You will finish until the last question, and then we will begin with the discussion of the comprehension. So the more prompt you are and the more instructive you are in the chat box, the better it gets. Let's begin with the reading comprehension. Okay, Raman, I'll do that. So your request has been noted. I will make a video around para completions for you. I'm just going to slip aside, guys. Please start with the reading comprehensions. Okay, guys, let's focus on the reading bit, please. Nice. Okay, guys, I don't want any of this. We will talk about how I look, if that is the bone of contention here towards the end of the YT. But can we please focus and get our heads back into the reading comprehension, because that is what, like I said, will help you qualify the IMB. Okay, guys, we'll really want to have some decorum maintained in the chat box, please. And Arnav, let's just wait for one. Let's just give them this one chance, and I'm sure they're going to get back to the reading bit. Zion and Tashyung, please get into reading. Let's not in any way get into these discussions. Like I said, I will have this discussion with you after the session. Please let me know when to slide next. Should I move on to the next slide? Okay, on to the next slide. Guys, just reserve your answers. And when we begin with the discussion is when I will want you to pop in your answers. So just reserve and keep letting me know. I will keep scrolling the questions. I cannot begin with the discussion of the reading comprehension because you lose, you lose your grip of the passage. So first answer, and then of course we will go ahead. Let me know when to scroll. Next. Okay. So Agni can't hear me. I'll just check if no, the audibility is fine. It's because I'm waiting for you guys to finish up. Probably that's why you can't hear me. Should I go next? Okay. Let's do next. 21. scrolling next, the last one for the passage. Okay, all right. And with that, let us begin with the discussion of the passage. First things first, I'm going to take the first 5-7 minutes to be able to walk you through what the passage is, and then is when we begin. So one of Kannabiran's formulation that had a profound impact on demystifying the relationship between the state, citizen, and law enforcement, concerned with the centrality of the state in the administration of concerned with the centrality of the state in the administration of criminal justice. So, of course, we've talked about the protagonist over here is Kannabiran. So, it says one of Kannabiran's formulation that had a very deep impact. So, there was one of these formulations which had a very deep impact. What sort of a deep impact? In terms of demystifying. Demystify is basically to unravel the relationship between the state, citizen, and the law enforcement. It concerned with the centrality of the state. So all of this concerned the centrality of the state of the administration of criminal justice. Let's read further. While it is in the course of crime detection, investigation, and apprehension of the accused that human rights violation ordinarily take place is in the realm of state violence, that the fault lines underlying existing criminal jurisprudence surface. So they begin by saying, while it is of course in the course of the crime detection, so all of this is a part and parcel of जब भी crime detection होता है. Investigation and apprehension of the accused. Apprehension is पकड़ना, investigate करना और उसका पकड़ना. That human rights violation ordinarily take place. Obviously, in some human right violation ordinarily tend to take place. It is in the realm of the state violence and the fault lines underlying existing criminal jurisprudence. And all of these things happen. Why? Because there are, of course, some things which there are some loopholes that we have, ultimately going back to the criminal jurisprudence. Stressing that there is no permanence about any definition of the crime in the criminal law, he pointed to the absolute power accorded to the state to implement the law and the real context of abuse, misuse, and vindictive administration of the laws. Obviously, कोई clear cut definition तो है नहीं, और state के पास इतनी सारी right है, तो state को जैसे मन करता है, जो मन करता है, use abuse of power वो करता है. We have used this particular dictum in innumerable cases involving political challenges to the state, particularly in major TADA cases involving minorities and Dalits. And there have been a plethora of cases wherein ये dictum use किया गया है, especially in the TADA cases. In May 2009, the height of a war against Tamils in Sri Lanka, a peaceful protest took place in Coimbatore against army convoys suspected to be taking arms and explosives to help Sri Lankan army. So there was this one rage issue that had happened wherein एक बहुत ही peaceful protest हो रहा था against the army because ऐसा लग रहा था कि वो arms and ammunition supply कर रहे Sri Lankan army को. 2 PUCL observers were also arrested and charged with sedition. And then the state had just arrested them and charged them with sedition. Sedition is when you go against the nation. We use Kannabiran's classic definition in argument inside court and in public meetings. And हमने क्या किया? इन लोगों ने Kannabiran का ही वो जो classic explanation था use किया. Citizens at large clearly understood the message. The simplicity of the formulation masked the profundity of its understanding of criminal, and it worked. It really gave them a very good insight. Kannabiran forever urged us, as also other lawyers, to never take for granted any audience. He exhorted us to address all fora, from the lowest court to a meeting of jurists, as though we were taking a class. Now, he was always somebody who said that believe in your power. He was somebody who said nobody should ever be taken for granted. In our 17 years of close interaction, we never once heard him use an expletive or speak ill of any person. So he was this very clean sort of a person, didn't really get into any malicious actions. While he was caustic in his comments, caustic means to be bitter. So obviously जब वो बोलता था तो वो एकदम crisp और एकदम चुभने वाली बातें जरूर बोलता था. He maintained a dignity and decorum in his political and legal criticism, but there was always some dignity that was, of course, maintained. He was by no means a soft person and could be as hard-hitting as anyone when presenting his analysis. So he was not somebody who was very gullible. He was somebody who had a very strong, a very dominating personality. But to many of us young activists and lawyers, he offered a different role model of a person through whom personal example became the embodiment of ethical and political values. But for people like, of course, the author and the other young advocates, he became the very role model, the one they looked up to. Kannavaran's contribution to human rights was not only in the field of criminal law, actually he played a very direct and proactive and catalytic role on many issues on major social and political import. Not only in terms of the criminal jurisprudence, उसने import में भी काफी किया. From social justice issues to environmental rights, from issues of election right to the rights of sexual minorities, there were no taboo issues for Kannaribiran. So obviously he was somebody who had this unconventional mindset. For him nothing was taboo. If it was something that the society needed, he would always go to help. So that is what the passage seems to be about. Now that we've understood what the passage is all about, let's go to the questions. Which of the following cannot be inferred from the passage? It has to be cannot be inferred, which means we have to look for which of the following is going to be wrong. Now let's see what is going to be an answer for us. Guys, now is a good time to start punching in your answers. Kannavaran believed that definition of crime and criminal law are prone to changes. Now, of course, he went about bringing in a change. Clearly, it could be because he did believe in that. So let's keep this because maybe, of course, this has been said in the passage. Kannavaran contributed to human rights very much, said in the passage. The process of crime detection usually leads to violation of human rights. Yes, the first paragraph itself had that mentioned as well. So our answer over here is going to be D, none of these, because all of these three can be inferred from the passage. Let's get on to the next. As per the understanding of the passage, the attitude of the author towards Kannavaran appears to be. So what sort of an attitude does the author have? Of course, it has to be very reverential. He was somebody who really respected that guy. So let's see. Smitten. Smitten is when you're awestruck, when you're flabbergasted. That's not what he is. He's not smitten. Eulogistic. Eulogistic is when you praise someone, when you appreciate someone very much because you like the kind of work that they do. Pretty much. Complacent. No, he was not complacent. He was, in fact, more appreciative of it. And ambivalent is confused to be on both sides. That's not what he was, because he was definitely on the side of pride. So which means the correct answer over here is going to be B, which is ambivalent. Okay, let's get on to the next. The simplicity of the formulation masks the profundity of its understanding of criminal law. Pertains to which of the following? So what is it that can be understood from this idea? Now let's see. This line had been mentioned in the very first opening lines of the passage. So of course, we are simply going to see which of the following is going to be the answer. I'll wait for you guys to please ping the answers. Okay, so let's see, what do we have? The simplicity of the formulation masked. So the simplicity, the fact that it was so simple in its formulation, that is what masked the profundity of its understanding. Profundity is the depth, and that is what happened to mask. The fact that it was so simple is what really masked the depth of its understanding. Now let's see. There was no permanence about, of course, this is not about permanence, this can't be the answer. The absolute power accorded, the absolute, again explicit, but okay, in the passage, yes, that is what it is. The absolute power accorded to the state was implemented to implement the law. No, not again. The real context of abuse, misuse, and vindictive administration of these, okay, it might pertain to the real context of it. That does make sense. The centrality of the state in the administration of criminal justice. Now, please understand the question. The question is saying the simplicity of the formulation masks the profundity of its understanding. Pertains to which of the following? It's not asking for the meaning. So if you have B, that's where you're going wrong. That's not what it is. It says it pertains to what? So what does this go back to? So why has there been simplicity, and what does the its understanding of the criminal? So what has been abusive all this while? So between B and C, guys, our answer will become D. The centrality of the state. This is what is being attacked by this line, and this is why he came up with this line. Because the state was taking in a lot of power all by itself. And this is where the criticism happened. So when I said that the simplicity of the formulation, so what were the terms that he marked? He marked for the simplicity, the simple terms in which he just gave this is what the meaning needs to be and how the criminal jurisprudence meaning has to be overhauled. So all of this dialogue pertains to what? Why did he say this? What was he trying to insinuate? He was trying to insinuate the state acting in absolute control. D is going to be the answer. I hope everybody now understands. Okay, let's try the next one. The excerpt is most likely to be a part of. Now, time and again, the passage has used, or the author has used words like we young lawyers, we social workers. So, of course, it is something that he also is a part of. Now, let's see. Legal report, no. Legal reports has a lot of citation. A biography, yes. Can be because he might be writing about Kannabiran or maybe a lot more social activist, and that, you know, this can be an excerpt from there, makes sense. And obituary is generally written when people have died. Nowhere in the passage did we talk about the fact that, or obituaries generally are the kind of ideas wherein, you know, you write things like what a lovely man he was, the kind of impact that he had in the society, so on and so forth. So that's again not going to be the idea. And then we have a PN. So a PN is generally a song. It is a song that is written for the praise, for the joy, or for a triumph. So clearly that is not what it is, which means there is only one option that we have, which is going to be B. Yes. Very well. Okay. On to the next one. There were no taboo issues for Kannabiran. By this, the author means that. So obviously, when you say that there is no taboo for him, which means that it was nothing that he had any sort of, you know, he was never afraid of anything. For him, everything was, you know, on the table. That is the kind of the openness. So that Kannabiran did not have any reservation in deliberating any kind of issue. Yes, pretty much. That is what it is. Let's reserve A. Kannabiran played a very important role in major. That's not what the taboo part is. Kannabiran played a proactive role in many issues of election right. Again, not. The Kannabiran played a very direct, proactive and catalytic role. Again, not. We have to talk about the reserve part because taboo का मतलब होता है चीजें जो हमें मना की है बोलने के लिए. The society does not accept it. So of course the reservation angle comes in, and hence the answer will be option A, not D, guys. And in the context of the passage, which of the following word cannot be used to substitute profound? Profound means deep. So deep. Great also, sometimes we say profound impact, like a great impact. Strong, yes. Recondite means something which is unknown, something which is obscure, जो बहुत लोगों को पता नहीं होता है. So of course the correct answer will become option C, which is recondite. I hope all of this was absolutely clear, and with that let's move on to the next question. Number 23. There is a short passage and of course we have to answer. Let's go and see which of the following is going to be the answer. No, Agni. Okay, guys, just 1 second. We're going to go back to the second last question here. Understand the question, Agni. Here it says, there were no taboo issues. By this, the author means to say. Means to say. So when you pick up something, now see. C is also not wrong because people, now he was somebody who also talked about the environment. Now he was somebody who also talked about the election rights and the sexual minorities. He also talked about, you know, the issues falling. None of these are wrong. So what are you going to do? You're going to look for an umbrella term. It's going to be the kind of generic term जिसमें ये सारे आ जाएं. ठीक है? Second question हमसे सिर्फ इतना पूछा है, इस लाइन का क्या मतलब है? तो इसमें हमें ये नहीं बताना है कि वो कौन-कौन से चीजों के बारे में बोलता था. जब मैंने बोला यार कन्नाबिरन के लिए कोई टैबू नहीं था, मतलब बंदा खुल के बोलता था. कोई भी ऐसी चीज जिसको लगे कि यार सोसाइटी हो ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं, Kannabiran didn't have that. So this line means that the question is only asking for the meaning of the line. So that means that guy had no reservation for any topic. Any means any. Now be it sexual minorities, be it environment, be it elections, chahe jo ho. So which is why the answer will become A. Now do you understand? Is it clear for you? Okay, and with that let's get on to question number 24. Yes, the one that we did right now was a good level passage. Please expect those are the kinds of passages that you are going to be getting. So, yes. No, Agni, again, it's not that. D doesn't have a restrictive angle to itself. You get my point? कोई चीज टैबू होती है मतलब क्या है? अगर मैंने कहा यार उसके लिए ये सब चीजें टैबू नहीं है, तो इस लाइन का क्या इन्फ्रेंस निकला कि उसको कोई झिझक नहीं है इससे. That's it. Now, D also individually talks about, and it's purposely put the word umbrella. But we want something which is going to take all hush topics which we don't speak about into perspective. तो जब मैंने पूछा जब मैंने बोला उसके लिए कोई टॉपिक टैबू नहीं है, मतलब बंदे को कोई रेजर्वेशन नहीं है, कुछ भी दे दो. So then don't isolate and give, just tell normally, and which is why it is going to be A. Okay? I hope now it is clear for you. Let's get to the next one, please. 23. Okay, let's see what do we have the answer as. Guys, please punch in your answers. Now, smooth sea never made a skilled mariner, right? So it's always the experiences, the hardships that teach you. That's what it is. Challenge, difficulty, hardship is the best teacher. ऐसा टाइप का आइडिया आ रहा है इसमें, ठीक है? तो कभी भी कोई skilled mariner नहीं बना है स्मूथ सी में सेल करके. Now, which one of the following selections demonstrate the same reasoning? That is, you need to be learning from harsh experiences. ऐसे टाइप का आइडिया चाहिए हमको. Now, anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm. Now, it says koi bhi helm. Helm is going to be, the one that is going to steer the ship. So anyone can do it when the sea is calm. Now, we're talking about the skills more so, not about, who can hold it tight. So that's not. Let us not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless when facing them. So it says, let us not pray for it. Let us be very fearless because it is the fears that maybe probably will teach you. Okay, has that angle of, being very upfront to the hardship, the adversities that are coming. Reserve kar lo. It is surmounting of difficulties that makes heroes. Okay, surmounting is one after the other. So it's going to be a repeated action of difficulties and hardships that are going to make heroes. This also makes sense. If you find a path with no obstacle, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. Again, that's not what it is. It's not about no obstacle. So A and D, of course, can't be an answer. We'll have to see which of the following is going to have the same reasoning. Same reasoning के लिए हमें aspect same रखना है passage का. Right? So अभी यहाँ पे smooth sea never made a skilled mariner, which means your answer should ultimately come out to hardships ही सिखाएगी आपको, adversities, difficulties ही सिखाएगी. अब दोनों में से देखते हैं difficulty कौन से में. It is the surmounting difficulties that makes heroes. Hardships heroes बना रहा है. Yes, skilled mariner hero ही तो है यहाँ पे. Makes sense. C can be an answer. Let us not pray to be sheltered from dangers, but to be fearless while facing them. You can be fearless, but will you be a hero? ऐसी तो कोई बात नहीं आई है ना. This is only charging you to be able to take up on the scenario, right? But it is not making you a fearless hero. The idea or the correct answer is going to be option C. C has the same logical tendency of reasoning. So a lot of you guys had D, but no guys, it's not going to be D, it's going to be C. Okay, this was a different version of question. Let's see ये वाला हमारा निकल के आता है कि नहीं. Again, logic follow करो. Just find out what you want and see which of the following is going to exhibit the same. It's called parallel reasoning, what you're doing over here. Let's try the next one. Okay, not clear. Should I go back, Ram? ठीक है. Okay, एक बार फिर से देखते हैं. चलो. Let's remove all of this. ठीक है. Guys, one more time. एक बार और फिर से इसको देखते हैं. Ram, I need you to get back here. In fact, everybody. The other ones, I'm so sorry. I went back. We need to figure this out one more time. अब please understand जो question type है वो क्या बोल रहा है. Which one of the following selection demonstrates the same reasoning? Same reasoning हमें निकालनी है. मतलब जो reasoning यहाँ पे है उसी को copy करना है. Such questions are actually called parallel reasoning. ठीक है. अब सबसे पहले उसको करने के लिए क्या करेंगे, एक पैटर्न इसमें निकालेंगे हम लोग. राइट नाउ, स्मूथ सी नेवर मेड अ स्किल्ड मरीनर. अगर सी स्मूथ है तो आप कभी स्किल नहीं बनोगे. मतलब आप स्किल कैसे बनोगे, डिफिकल्टीज से ना. तो विच मीन्स अब जो भी मेरा आंसर होना है उसमें आप हीरो बनोगे डिफिकल्टी से. ये पैटर्न मिल गया ना. अब हम देखेंगे किसमें डिफिकल्टी और हीरो आ रहा है. बहुत क्लोज ऑप्शंस होंगे बट डिफिकल्टी और हीरो को व्हाट वी विल स्टिक टू. एनीवन कैन होल्ड द हेल्म व्हेन द सी इज काम. कोई भी सी को वो एनीवन कैन स्टीयर द सी. अगर सी ठीक है तो फिर तो भाई शिप को कोई भी कर सकता है. डज इट टॉक अबाउट डिफिकल्टी एंड हीरो? नो. Let us pray to be sheltered from danger than to be but to be fearless. Let us not pray. हमें डेंजर से बचना नहीं, हमें fearless होना है. fearless होना है मतलब हेड ऑन जाके डेंजर को देखना है, बट हमें तो हीरो बनना है ना. तो facing the danger is not what it is. Turning out to be a hero, right? That is what this one said. You want to be skilled. तो ये तो उससे नहीं आया, हीरो वाला एंगल नहीं आया. It is surmounting of difficulties that makes heroes. बार बार डिफिकल्टी आती है तो आप हीरो बनते हो. Make sense? Same idea? रख लेते हैं. If you find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead anywhere. कोई भी ऑब्स्टिकल नहीं होगा तो कहीं नहीं जा रहे हो. मतलब एक दो ऑब्स्टिकल भी होगा तो कहीं तो जा रहे हो, बट मुझे तो बहुत ऑब्स्टिकल्स चाहिए ना हीरो बनने के लिए. बैक टू बैक हार्डशिप्स चाहिए तभी तो मैं हीरो बनूंगी. क्योंकि भाई स्मूथ सी नेवर रियली मेड अ स्किल्ड मरीना. So this will also not talk about, it's not about no obstacles. It's about lots of them. So the only option that is resonating to my is option C. अब समझ में आया राम आपको? Did you understand now? All options will be super confusing. Reasoning है ना? But we have to see the one that is going to be most closely to it. Okay, let's try the next one. Okay, 24. Let's see what do we have now. If a child is prone to cold, he will definitely catch cold in winters. अगर बच्चे को थोड़ा सा भी सर्दी होता है तो उसको पक्का विंटर्स में तो हो जाएगा. डेफिनेटली मतलब पक्का वाला आइडिया चाहिए. The child has caught a cold, so it must be winter. अब बच्चे को ठंडी हो गई तो भैया पक्का पता है कि ये विंटर है. ठीक है, अब हमें देखना है which of the following is going to resemble this reasoning completely. Her formals are always meticulously ironed. ठीक है, okay. The red, but then over here we need two angles to it, right? Because if the child is prone to cold, he will definitely find. So her formals are meticulously ironed. I want something more. So of course this is not giving me the answer because it doesn't have two aspects to it, right? A child is prone to cold, he will definitely. So cold, winter में definite. ठीक है, ऐसे है. Child is caught cold. अभी child को cold है. Child has cold, so it is definitely winter. ऐसा ही रीजनिंग चाहिए ना मुझे. तब पहले में ये बोलता है फॉर्मल्स आर मेटिकुलसली आयर्न, बट देन ऑलवेज मेटिकुलसली आयर्न. द रेड ड्रेस वाज नॉट आयर्न, इट मस्ट नॉट बी फॉर्मल. तो ये हम लोग तो नहीं निकाल सकते, ये तो इस रीजनिंग में ही नहीं आएगा. ए कांट बी एन आंसर. ऑल लेफ्ट हैंडेड ऑथर्स राइट एक्सेप्शनली वेल. ओके, लेट्स सी. लेफ्ट हैंडेड ऑथर्स दे राइट एक्सेप्शनली वेल, बट बी नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि मुझे तो डेफिनेट वाला आंसर चाहिए ना. मेरे को एक्सप्लिसिट एंगल चाहिए, तो इसमें तो डेफिनेट वाला आइडिया ही नहीं है, 100% वाला. सो ये नहीं हो सकता. पैरेलल रीजनिंग में हर चीज वैसी ही चाहिए जैसे ओरिजिनल में थी. My cat exhibits unpleasant behavior only when sick. Okay, only आ गया तो explicit वाला आइडिया आ गया. So cat है unpleasant behavior only when it is sick. So every time it is sick, it will do this. She has been exhibiting unpleasant behavior for 2 days. It says, so she must be. Now the cat has been exhibiting unpleasant behavior. So of course, for 2 days now, so of course she must be sick. Okay, makes sense because there is cold and there is cold. There is cat and of course the cat is behaving. Winter definitely winter. यहाँ पे भी sick हो गया. Makes sense. काफी ज्यादा उसमें आ रहा है तो इसको रख लेते हैं. अब अगला भी देखते हैं. D. The trees always shed their leaves when fall starts. Since the trees are not shedding their leaves, it must not be fall. But we want a positive idea. We don't want a negative idea. हमारा conclusion negative नहीं होना है. So yes, the correct answer will become option C. Is that what you had? Very good job, guys. Excellent. The answer is C. Starting from 25 to 27, in each of the question, एक word यहाँ पे दिया है. हमें देखना है whether the usage of the words are right or wrong. Go contextual here. Adi, towards the end of the YT, I will give my Telegram ID. All of you, in fact, can reach out to me on my Telegram ID with whatever be the doubts that you have. Okay, let's finish up with the next one, please. Start. Adi, you will get it. Don't worry. Maybe that can be a reason for you to stick around. Now, let's see catch. Catch me if you can. Sahi hai. This is correct. The antenna is unable to catch up the TV. Now, catch up basically means to come to speed with. This should just be catch and not catch up. So obviously, ये गलत है. We've come here to catch fish. Correct है. I'm in a catch 22 situation wherein I'm confused. मेरे को पता नहीं क्या करना है. So this is again sahi, which means the correct answer. That is the incorrect version of catch, because we have to find the one that is incorrect or inappropriate becomes option B. Very well. Let's do the next. Bark. Agla word. Yes, this is the last session, unfortunately. Okay, let's see. Bark. Those who bark don't bite. This is correct. Can't be my answer. The sailors were sailing in the bark. That is okay. The bark of this tree is stronger than steel. Yes. He began to bark off his order. No, it is supposed to be bark out his orders. So the correct answer will be D, because D is what is contextually incorrect. Very well. Let's get on to the next. 27. Act. Let's go. Okay, let's see. Act. I was putting on an act out and laughing a lot. Is this supposed to be act and not act out? Act out is when you act very deranged. So this is wrong, which means likely to be an answer. The new government act has reformed, which is correct. The plane's engine was acting up, which means again not acting fine. The governments must act to reduce. Yes, this is asking for some call to action. That's correct again, which means the incorrect usage is in part A. Let's get on to the next. Now for 28th, It's a grammatical rectification. Please begin. This is clearly a conditional rule that we have. So we're going to see what it is. Now it says, when involved in an accident, if I was him, I would call for the ambulance immediately. I think everybody knows of this. This will have to be very good. If I were him, I would call. This is condition 3, condition of the past. So yes, the correct answer is going to be option C over here. Very good. Next. Let's see what do we have over here. So it says, even after a long and tiring journey, Tanmay is not and does not wish to eat tonight. So of course, one will have to be something which is going to happen in the future, but one will be something. So it's been a long and tiring journey. The journey has been continuous, but of course, he's not been wanting and he's not eating any further. So one will have a continuous, the other will have, of course, a infinitive, like a future outlook to itself. So which one do you think is going to be? So C and D. So even after the long and tiring journey, Tanmay is not eating and not wishing, not nay, does not wish to eat, because we want to talk about a future happening that is there. The correct answer will be D and not C. Okay, let's see the next. 30th, please. Correct version. When Chitra entered the room and saw the iron, she realized that she had forgotten to switch it off. So what is it going to be? She realized that she forgot to switch it off. The correct version, which one? Very well. Yes, it is going to be, she realized that she had forgotten to switch it off. Very good. Okay. Now, guys, we'll come back to the reading comprehensions, but we'll do the remaining 5 questions, which are, of course, the quicker ones, and then we can take our time with the reading comprehensions. So I'm just going to finish up with the reading we'll come back to the reading comprehensions, of course, once we finish the last 5, which are again, single lined questions that we have. Okay, so I want to begin with, of course, again 37, guys, which is again going to be a parajumble. Let's get our hands on to it. Begin. I hope you understand how to be doing it there. The first and the sixth statement cannot be moved. They're going to be in their original position. You have to put the remaining 4 in such a sequence that when read, all the 6 sentences make a coherent paragraph, right? So please take your lead from here and here. The rules of the openers and the closers might not work with these. Let's go. Is there a break in between? Arnav, we are on the last leg of it. Another 10-15 minutes and we'd be done. So I don't think there's any requirement of the break for these 10-15 minutes. It's just home stretch, my dear. Buck up and let's just go. The last 10 minutes. Do we have the answers? Not really. Okay, so D, I think, is the punch-in for the answer right now. All right, then let's see. All through history, the use of sound has been used to threaten the enemy and raise the morale of your own people. Okay, I'm just going to read D straight away. Bullets, missiles, swords may be of what most people think of when it comes to weapons. We then have R, but sound also has been deployed over the millennia to disrupt, confuse, and even injure opponents. Okay, for example, the World War II during the German siege of the Soviet city of Stalingrad in 1942, the Soviet troops kept German forces awake at night. They played Argentine tangos through loudspeakers. Very good. The correct version is going to be option D. Since it is uncontested, I don't think there's any reason for us to get on to any of the other options. Let's do the next one. 38, guys. Please be careful again. The first and the last statement stay unaffected. You cannot be changing them. You will, of course, have to be changing the remaining bit. Thirty-eight. Okay, so we have a punch-in. Let's see. In June of 1972, burglars were arrested in the office of the Democratic National Committee. I'll try with A because A is what has come in. It was located, now makes sense, it was located being the office. It was located in the Watergate complex of the building in Washington, D.C. Okay. The prowlers were soon connected to President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. This came to be known as the Watergate scandal. It altered American politics forever. It also changed the way, so alter and change, of course, which means we will have to be ending with an S because that is what makes a mandatory pair. Excellent job, guys. The answer will be option A. Okay, we also have B, so I'd like to try B as well. Now, in June, now Q remains the same. Okay, it was located. Then comes P. This came to be known. No, you will not say this came to be known unless you tell them what the scandal was about. So just the fact that it was located in a complex of building is not the scandal. The scandal was that the prowlers were soon connected to it. They got to know that there was some connection with the re-election. That's where the scandal comes in. We have to add the scam angle, right, to be able to say. So B will not be the answer. So Agni, I hope you get it. Why we have A as the answer. Let's try the next one. Now, in the sentence, identify the part that contains a grammatical error. Let's go. It says, we always thought that he was a cowardly man until he saved a girl from getting drowned. I think everybody knows what is wrong over here. Until he saved a girl from getting drowned. The error is going to be in part. You will stay motivated, Yuvraj. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's the examination that you're waiting for. You're focused and you've put in all your energy, time, investment in terms of money into this examination. Why wouldn't you? What is it that distracts you? Maybe if you can tell me that, I'd know better. Yes, the correct answer is going to be C because this is supposed to be drowned and not drowned. So yes, the correct answer will be C. Okay. In the sentence, identify the part that contains a grammatical error again. One should be either brave or fool to go inside that haunted house. Getting drowned also can be, but we need a getting drowned. It's a passive statement, so an ed form is important. Now here when I say one should be either brave or fool, so I think we know where the error seems to be. In the opening lines itself. So when you say one should be either brave or fool, so of course the correct version is going to be, or the error is going to be in part. Do we have an answer? The error is going to be in part B. It should be one should either be brave or fool to go. It is not supposed to be one should be either brave. One should either be brave or fool. You have to put the either outside. It's a rule of math. So whenever you have something here and then the brackets, then of course this gets multiplied to this and this as well. Right? But then if that is not happening and you have it only with one, then it's not going to multiply to the other one. That's what the rule of the brackets always are. And this is what we have to apply here as well. So the correct or the incorrect part is going to be in part B. Very well done there. Okay. And just the last bit that remains, which was our reading comprehension. So let's go back to solving the reading comprehension, which is the last bit of our discussion for today. Okay. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a surprise, and that is it's a longer reading comprehension, but very easy questions at that. So let's begin. Home stretch, everybody, the last 5 questions, reading comprehension. Let's go. Please begin, everyone. I'm just going to step aside, but I need you to focus on the screen altogether. So you know the drill. Just let me know when to write the next, and I shall do that. Okay, let's begin. So this was the last of the questions. Oh, this one. Okay, we finished with this. Now let's again do two questions on the way before we move on, because of course those were easy questions. Now, which of the following words can act as a synonym of embodied as used in the passage? So embody means to be able to take things together. Disintegrate, hide, excluded cannot be an answer, which means the correct answer is going to be incorporate. That is what is meant by to embody something. I think this can also be done simultaneously. Let's just wait to have your answers pinged in for this one. Now, this simply says in the context of the passage what is meant by this statement. So there's a double inverted comma, which means we simply have to tell what this statement is going to mean. And what is the statement? Which could be indicative of greater synchronicity. Synchronicity means synchronous behavior or connectivity within and across different neural areas. So what is meant by this statement? Which means that whatever it is going to be indicative that there's going to be more synchrony and connectivity within and across the neural areas. Now, spirituality is a brain state that we can all reach whether or not we want. No, we want to have the idea of connectiveness. The neural synchronization creates conflict. It cannot be conflicting. It can create a life that changes our focus, not again, which means it is going to be D. That neural synchronization enhances our brain harmony, creating physiological effects akin to the feeling of love. So very well, the answer over here also is going to be option D. I think these two were the kind of questions we could have just orally gone to talk about. Now, instead of going line by line with the idea of the passage, because the passage was pretty easy, I will just take a moment to tell you what the passage is about, match my description to your answer, and then we will see what exactly is it that the passage is about. So the passage basically talks about William James, who is a pioneer in Western psychology, who has defined spiritual experiences as higher states of consciousness rooted in a sense of connectedness to the world and of course the others. Traditionally, these have been achieved through very contemplative practices like meditation and prayer. Such states now also are found in more secular activities, including the scientific and the creative breakthroughs that have been talked about. The passage then talks about these experiences, how they share characteristics like unity, presence, and bliss. Neuroscientific research, particularly the EEG studies, these show that the spiritual states involve greater brainwave synchrony associated with a heightened self-awareness, empathy, and the kind of social connection that we have. Regular engagements in contemplative practices can enhance the neural synchronicity, making spiritual-like states more accessible in everyday life. So it's about how spirituality can actually activate a lot of your temporal synchronization. The long and short of it is that. Let's go next. Which of the following is not one of the suggestions made by the author during the study? Not. Which means three of these are, one of it is not. You'll have to give me the answer which is going to be not. Let's see which one do we have as the answer. We can teach each other to stay more active and aware. Now, of course, that was not for EEG. Engage in activities that make us more aware. Yes. Activeness was not what? Awareness. Yes. We can involve in activities that make our neurons more connected. Yes. We can train our brain towards higher synchronization. Yes. So while all of these can be, the idea of staying more active was not EEG. So the correct answer will become option A. Very good job there. Okay. The next one. According to William James, spiritual experience is defined as. So what do we have the definition of William James as? Spiritual tradition, no. Higher state of consciousness, yes, that's something that even I read out when I was giving the explanation of the passage. Scientific and creative manifestation of the divine being, no. It helps enhance the creativity. Principles of the world, again, not. I think there's only one answer that we have, and yes, the answer will have to be option B. I think the next two we've already dealt with. And the last one, as per the passage, what is or are the prerequisites to truly achieve one's purpose? What are going to be the prerequisites that we have? Let's see. One state of self-awareness, yes. One's awareness of relationship with the world, yes. One's awareness with the relationship with others, yes, of course. So I think we're pretty clear. The answer here will have to be all of them. And with that, we come to an end. Oh, we did miss out on this active and no, we finished, of course, with the active passive here again. And with that, we come to an end to the third rapid revision that we had. It has been an absolute pleasure, guys, to be able to take these 3 sessions consecutively. I think I've been able to also, make a bond, a rapport with a lot of you guys. Not that I know of you, but then, of course, with the way you've been popping up the answers, you've been doing a phenomenal job. As promised, towards the end, I was to give my Telegram ID. So my Telegram ID is Suyukti_Seth. If there is any doubt that you have or anywhere where you feel stuck, you can always feel free to write to me with no judgment whatsoever, and I shall get back to you ASAP with, of course, with my utmost power to be able to help you with whatever be the confusion that you have. And I think with that, we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience, for being, so proactive while giving in the answers, because these 2 hours didn't feel in any way boring, because you guys were constantly either asking, probing, or answering three of those which are the very signs of being a proactive and a learned student. Keep going with the momentum, and of course, IMB is definitely what you guys are going to qualify. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you very soon with maybe another series on YT. But until then, keep going with whatever it is. All of my best wishes are with each of you. Thank you so much, everyone.